ancient form of art that is called Cameo. If you're vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you can remove the mask.
Oh, yes.
Grazie.
Grazie.
Because I am. So, the word cameo means work in relief. So, a cameo is a bas relief. It means that when you look at a cameo, the subject of the cameo is not stamped and then glued on something brown, but it is actually carved out of one piece of a shell. In this case, I'm showing you Cassis madagascariensis shell. And this is the front side of the shell. We call this part the cap of the shell since it's concave. As you can see, the shell has two layers. It is white outside and brown inside. So there are two layers, but it's one piece. To make a cameo, we cut a piece and we glued it on a stick of wood with a special wax. This is to hold it while we work. Then on the white layer, which is the outside of the shell, we do a quick sketch of the subject that we want to represent. In this case, it's the siren of Sorrento, symbol of this town, but it could be any subject really. Then, with different size tools, we start to engrave. What we do, we scratch away these parts here around the lines of the design until to get to the brown layer, which this time is the inside of the shell.
Yeah.
And it will finally be the background of the cameo.
Oh, wow.
How clever we are. And then we go through all the small details. So once it's finished, you see two layers, you see two colors, but the cameo is one piece.
Yeah.
Never ever two pieces stuck together, otherwise it won't be a real cameo. But then see, the inside the layer of the shell is translucent, so when you hold a cameo through the light, but from the back, you can tell there is no wax to keep the two pieces together.
Oh.
And this is the only way you have to tell if a cameo is real or not. When instead you see different colors, it's because we make cameos out of many different types of shells. Now these are the two most popular, and between the two, this one is a very traditional cameo color, but I'm pretty sure you have seen cameos like this one many times before. But we also make cameos out of mother of pearl shell. In this case, the cameo won't be translucent, but it will be iridescent. And so when you move it, it changes a little bit the color.
Oh, that's pretty.
You can find some pink cameos, and people think that the pink cameos are carved out of coral. This, while is this shell, it is called the Strombus gigas shell. None of this shell is local, we have to import them all. This one comes from Bahamas. A young carver of this family, his name is Franco, he's a very eclectic artist, and he makes cameos out of this shell. This small shell, instead of two, has 7 layers, and each layer has a different color, and he makes pieces like this.
Wow.
Wow.
So the cameo is not painted, but different colors are different layers of the same piece of shell.
Wow.
If instead we go back to the very first shell I showed you, understand that out of a shell like this, we don't do any waste. We don't only make cameos out of the cap of the shell, we also make cameos out of the wings of the shell, and we do pieces like this.
Pretty.
We make cameos out of the back of the shell, this side here, and we do cameos where you can see a little bit of the color of the shell.
That's cool.
Beautiful.
In the 70s, instead, my father and his brothers were making beads to do necklaces out of this. We call this nasone, which means big nose, as you can see. Today, instead, we keep and carve this part of the shell into pieces like this one. While when we have the time or the right piece of shell, we even do pieces like this one. Now, this is a cameo about the story of Saint Bernadette. For Christian Catholic people, Bernadette saw appearing the Virgin Mary happened in Lourdes. when we carved this piece here, we carved Bernadette with all the background. We even did a sort of a flower frame to the cameo. The only thing that we didn't carve is Mary, because in the story Mary appears to Bernadette, and so we made the cameo like this.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool. Nice.
What is important to understand about cameos is that beyond the workmanship, beyond the quality of the carving, a cameo is a form of art. By saying this, I mean to say that it's not so much about the beauty of the work, but it's the meaning of the subject represented that is very, very important. I'll give a quick for instance. One of the most powerful subjects in the shop is this. It's a simple daisy, really. But the daisy in this country is called the flower of joy, so it reminds you to be content. And that's what cameo is a message behind the subject. As your guide was saying, very, very big in this part of the world is the jewelry that we make out of coral. And many people don't realize that coral is actually more expensive than gold, especially when it comes in large sizes like that. Coral comes from everywhere in the world, different kind of seas. In our sea, in the Mediterranean, we have this. This is a medium-sized piece of Corallium rubrum, of red Italian coral, also known as the blood of Medusa by Ovidius. With coral we do a lot of things, a lot of jewelry, but one of the things we make the most out of coral is this.
Oh, yeah.
You must have seen this many times. It's not a chili pepper, it is a corno. And there are two things to know about the corno. First of all, the material has to be coral, because coral has a sort of an apotropic power. Since it comes from the blood of Medusa that fell into the water, and Medusa is an apotropic subject, the coral inherited the apotropic power to send away the evil eye. And the shape is not the chili pepper, as I was saying, but it reminds to the horn of plenty. It's a big horn full of abundance in the hands of the goddess Cerere. So we have this as protection and abundance. It's a big, big part of our tradition. This shop deserves a little bit of time, because each piece that you see is a one of a kind, together with the Siren of Surrender that we make. We are open until 10 o'clock tonight, and tomorrow until 1 o'clock. You're more than welcome to come and browse anytime you want. And thank you very much for listening.